everyone, it's Sammy from Sammy's Sweet Life, and today I have my 1-month iPhone XS review, and I have got a lot to say in this video, so I hope that it's not too long for you guys. There's a lot to talk about. I have only had 2 iPhones in my history of iPhones. I had an iPhone 4, it might have been a 4S, and also an iPhone 6. So I'm moving from a 6 to the 10S or XS, depends on how you like to say it, and I did get the 256 gigabyte of storage, so it's the mid-range storage. And so as somebody who spent $1,300, almost $1,400 on the iPhone, I have a ton to say about it. So let's jump into my list. I have a really long list and you'll see me looking down. I did end up doing a over the weekend review of the iPhone, and mostly just the camera, the portrait mode, and blurry background bokeh effect. And so I did a lot of in-depth information on that. I have not really improved my skills on the user side of things, and so I don't have much to update from that. You just have to really learn how far from your subject you have to be. And somebody who has a wiggly preschooler, it's hard to nail it all the time. She has to be sitting in the right way to get a really good, beautiful shot, and it's really hit or miss. So if you're taking portraits of adults who can sit still for more than half a second, you'll probably do a lot better than I am doing with the portrait mode and the bokeh technique. I really feel like it's a great feature. It's not perfect, and I've talked about that in my other videos, so I'll definitely link to that, but I have gotten some killer photos with this portrait mode, the bokeh. I just love it. I just absolutely think that the camera is worth every penny. Now, the iPhone XS, the regular size, still has the same thing. So you could save a couple $100 by getting the smaller phone if you still want to have the exact same camera. So I didn't even consider the XR because I wanted the dual camera and I wanted the bigger screen. So I did end up getting the biggest one, but you could totally get away with the smaller iPhone XS. I'm gonna cut to some of the photos that I took that I'm really proud of. I think they turned out really bomb. I'll also show you a couple problems I found along the way as well, just to go into the camera a little bit deeper. We don't do a whole lot of low lighting photos, but here is one, and it was something that I never would have gotten on just my regular 6. It's a really nice photo of Olivia with her preschool teachers. They did a little trunk or treat event, and so I got a picture of them in very low light. It was getting dark. You can especially see up at the top, it's almost dark in the sky, and I ended up with a great shot of them. And so I took some of her in her Halloween costume. She was dancing. These were taken about 6:30 at night, and so it was a little bit dark out. I did have to bump up the exposure when I was taking the photos, but some of these turned out really, really cute. She was just dancing around, being silly, and I just kept snapping photos. And so none of these are in portrait mode. These are just in regular, but they just came out really nice and clear, like her tutu. The tutu, the colors are showing up really brightly, and there's some blur because she's, jumping around, but it also got really crisp images. I did use the burst for some of these so I could pick out the best pictures from here. But I think the picture itself turned out really, really well. I think that's a really good one. She was just goofing off. I did get some more like her being still photos. There she is wearing her helmet. And the colors just are really nice. I did have to bump up the brightness and the light on these, so they're not the greatest quality on some of these because they were so dark. I did that afterwards, just editing the photos. Here's another one. It just turned out really crisp and clean, and they're just much better than my 6. I also got this really good one of Olivia. She's just pretending to trick or treat, and she had her little basket sitting next to her as she was dumping out some of the pieces, and it turned out really, really nicely. It blurred all of the banister and her trampoline in the background, and it looks just really crisp with her and the pumpkin in focus. I got some really cute pumpkin patch photos of her as well. So I took some of these in portrait mode. You can see the background's nice and blurred. She's just goofing off. She didn't want to smile for me. And so I got a few of her actually sitting on a pumpkin next to some other pumpkins, and the blur on these ones got a little bit funky. It doesn't completely blur all the greenery. There's some in here that's just totally crystal clear, and everything else is blurred out. And so I thought these ones were kind of funky since it didn't completely blur. And one thing you can do with the photos also is just do the magic wand tool, and it completely changes the photo. You can see that one's a little bit darker, and then it brightens everything up, and it just changes the look completely. So aside from that part not being blurry, this portrait mode photo was really good as well. But I love the magic wand feature. It really just changes the tones. So here's one where she's just being goofy in the wagon. I bumped up the blur just a little bit on this one. When you bump up the blur all the way, you can really see the edges of things. And so it looks really good. And you change the brightness and it just livens up some of the colors. For this one, it really warms up the colors. Where this is kind of like a blue toned, then this turns a little bit more of the pinkish orangish tone. I think it looks really good actually either way on this one. If you're new to iPhone in general, there's a ton of editing options where they just have presets in here. You can really change the filters and things. See, I'm gonna go back to original. And then I also like to mess with the lighting so you can make it brighter. I've already brightened this one up a little bit. It really just changes the look. You can mess with all the individual settings as well. You can really do a lot of editing afterwards as well, just with the phone, which is great. Obviously, I'm not a techie person. I don't really care about the specs as far as like what speed it is and what chips it has and all that stuff. But I'll tell you, the screen is fantastic. I love the resolution. I think it's gorgeous and crisp. I've watched movies on here and I just love the quality. I get really good quality on here. Also, I turn my screen down. I don't have it on the brightest setting. I have it almost on the darkest setting and it's still plenty bright for me. I do turn it up when I'm outside. I don't have it on the like auto detect sun feature because I find it's just too bright overall for me. As far as sound, the music is amazing. Movies sounded amazing. I absolutely love it. And when I first turned the music on here, I honestly could not believe how good it sounded, especially compared to my old phone. It's just a night and day difference. And of course, there have been many years of updates between there, but this one is supposed to have killer sound and it really does. I just was blown away by it. As far as the keyboard goes, I love the bigger phone for the keyboard in the portrait mode when it's upright like this, like using the keyboard. I do use two hands most of the time. It is a bigger phone, but I've always really just used two hands when I'm going to town typing something. I take notes for my videos on here. I send pretty lengthy text messages back and forth. And so I find that it's been really nice to have that bigger keyboard. The one thing though with that is if it is in landscape mode, you know, this way, the keyboard is ginormous. I feel like it's really awkward and the buttons are extra long. I have a really difficult time hitting the buttons when it's that way. So I definitely always keep it in the portrait mode when I'm typing out a bunch of stuff because the other way is just not working for me. One thing I found I had trouble with was the iCal app. The iCal app was kind of tweaked in a way that I could not just get to like my daily, hourly schedule and be able to just plug in new events and things. I had to go look up how to do the thing where I get just the daily view, because if I turn it into landscape mode, I could get it, but then the keyboard is too big. I feel like it's really clunky and elongated, so I didn't really want to have my phone in that position. But when I'm turning it on portrait, it just had a list of things and it didn't let me see that daily view easily. Well, there's a trick. There's a button you press and you can see that daily view. If you're like me, you want to see the daily view for things. But really with that portrait orientation, I could just type for days on it and I find it really quick and easy to use with the two-handed system. I can type with one hand. I do have like really massive hands and so I can really type with one, but it's just not as comfortable as going to town with the two-handed way. I haven't really filmed a whole lot of video on the XS Max, so I can't really say a whole lot on the video side of things, except I find that the video quality when I have filmed has been really good and really smooth. It does have image stabilization, and so I find that the images are pretty smooth. I've been filming my grocery hauls with my phone because I find it less shaky than my digital SLR, which I'm filming on right now. So I found that that has been really nice to be able to film from my phone. I do use AirDrop with my MacBook Pro, and so I can just instantly get the video onto my computer with very little hassle. Whereas with the camera, I have to take out the memory card, stick it in the computer, wait for it to read, pick out what clips I want, and it takes a little bit longer to do it that way versus just sticking it straight from one to the other. Depending on how much storage the video takes up, it depends on how long it is. It does take a little bit of time for it to AirDrop to my computer, but I have loved it and I hope to do a lot more filming with it because I found it's just a really nice, quick system. I don't always have to like look for a memory card like I do with the big camera. I find that I never have a memory card in the camera. I need to be better about always just leaving one in. But now that I have the phone, I have a really quick way to film. I'm getting used to filming on it versus filming on the digital SLR. It's really hard to not block a lens and not block a microphone. So holding it's a little bit awkward. So I'm really trying to learn how to do that. Before I even bought the phone, I did buy a little tripod, which I found has been really helpful. You just clip it in and I can hold it like this and, you know, film what I want to film. It's a lot easier than holding the phone and trying not to cover up mics and things. Now I'm just a month in, so I'm still a complete newbie with all this. I did film a little tutorial DIY video, and I had a 2-camera system going, which was awesome. I used my digital SLR, and I had the iPhone set up on the little tripod so I could have 2 angles going for the video, and it was awesome. It was just a game changer for me. Really never filmed on my iPhone before now. My 6 had 16 gigabytes, and that went fast. When I'm taking photos, I was always struggling to have storage. And that's another thing about this one. I have 256 gigabytes. I haven't even gotten close to having a storage issue at this point. And I have downloaded movies, I download podcasts, I have downloaded tons of music that I never could have downloaded before, and I love having this space. It's just been invaluable to me to have the space on my phone finally. So I had to run around a bit to find what I was looking for, the thing I wanted to talk about next. So going back to movies for a second, we did end up traveling recently, and I brought my phone as my form of entertainment on the plane. And so I downloaded a movie, and it was awesome to have the movie. I just had my wireless headphones linked up. I do not have AirPods. They're just some off-brand ones I got off Amazon for super cheap. I will link to those down below. I also needed a way to prop up my phone. So I had this one actually with me. This one actually hooks to my little girl's iPad case, and so it's just something I could take off and use because she was holding her iPad. I can't really recommend this one because it actually is for an iPad case, and the case itself was expensive. But I also have an Amazon Basics one I did not bring on the plane, but I have used at home. It just clips into the little case. You can rotate the little foot on it around, so you can angle it kind of however you want. It'll lock in place at different angles, which is awesome. I really like having this one. I like this one because it's heavy duty and it'll last a while. I just happened to not remember to grab it, so I just used this one and it worked just fine. If you were to not have a case or a really super thin case, it might block your view just a little bit down at the bottom. I'll link to that and the tripod down below for you guys. I just got really super cheap ones. So when I'm driving around, I've been using Amazon Prime Music. We're just Prime members and you get most music for free on there. They are doing a lot of like Prime Unlimited now, which is a subscription service, which we're not subscribed to. But for the most part, I can find most songs I want on there and download them. And that's just a benefit from having Amazon Prime. But before I would stream it versus now I can just download it straight to my phone and I'm not using data. There have been times in the past I've streamed too much music, like road tripping across Austin too many times in a month. For us driving, road tripping somewhere else a little bit further out, and we have used the data from the streaming. And so now I don't have that problem. I just download it directly to my phone. I don't have any problem with space and it is nice. So far I have downloaded like 10 hours of music and I've not even touched my data limit at this point in time. So you can definitely put a lot of stuff on this phone. I do want to give you a mini update on that case and the screen protector that I bought. I just bought a cheapy screen protector off Amazon, and then I did get a really nice spec case. I did want a nice clear case that was going to be impact resistant. I have dropped my phone already and it has held up fine. Hopefully it will continue to do so because I'm a klutz and I like to drop things apparently. So I have really found that both of them have held up. The one thing I noticed is my case is kind of soft. It does have that impact rubbery material and it has gotten scratched over time. I do just throw it in my purse and it does get scuffed up and scratched. So that's something to note. If you're not going to be super delicate with this particular case, it's going to get scuffs and scratches. Now my screen protector has held up great, but I do not have it perfectly mounted on my phone. It is a tiny bit crooked, and so there is a gap forming on one side. I will have to replace that in the near future. Until it starts bugging me enough, I'm just gonna leave it on there. Going along with that, my phone has been wet. I do have a preschooler. We have gone to the pool and stuff. My phone has gotten wet a few times. It hasn't gone submerged or anything, so I can't vouch for that, but it's easy to just wipe it clean and dry. I don't have to worry about it like I did with my 6. I was very worried about liquid, and now I don't have to worry. I've sat outside on my phone while she's playing water table and she splashed me, and it hasn't been a problem at all, whereas if she had splashed me when I had my 6, I would panic a little bit on the inside. As somebody who has not upgraded in a few years, I have found the Face ID to be awesome. I haven't had any problems with it, aside from 2 problems, which I do want to address one of them. One of them, I had an eye closed in bed, and so like if I'm grabbing it first thing in the morning and I have one eye peeking open, it's not gonna detect my face. You definitely have to have both eyes open if you have it on the top security for the Face ID. And also I had a problem with my sunglasses. I had purchased new sunglasses and it would not detect. And so I was telling my friend I was disappointed it doesn't work with sunglasses, and she said it should. So I did look into this. It does use infrared technology, and whatever wavelength that it uses, my sunglasses blocked. So you have to get the right pair of sunglasses. If you're having problems with sunglasses, I suggest you get a different pair. I did get this cheapy pair at Walgreens one day. I was just desperate. My other sunglasses broke. And so I went to Target and did the Face ID test with a bunch of different sunglasses, and I could not find another pair that wouldn't unlock my phone. So I think the vast majority of sunglasses will work. So I just got really lucky. I got a pair that didn't work. And so I'm really glad I talked with my friend about this, because I was really bummed that I was having this trouble unlocking my phone when I was wearing my sunglasses. My little girl and I take walks a lot, and I'm constantly wearing my sunglasses when we're outside, and it was really annoying. It got old really quick. As far as the upward motion to unlock and the downward motion to see your dashboard, I've totally gotten used to that in this month. It's just totally new and natural, and my husband actually has my 6. So I've used his phone a few times, and it feels real weird trying to get the unlock screen, and I was trying to do the flashlight on his phone. I tried to scroll down from the top corner and it didn't work. It was a slight learning curve at the beginning. It was something I was really worried about as somebody jumping from such an old phone to this one. It's something that has not been a problem at all, just maybe the first couple of days trying to get used to it, and now it feels totally normal. One thing I absolutely love versus the other phone, this is something that totally could be an iOS thing, or it could just be an iPhone 6 versus 10s thing, but on the home screen where it's locked, I love having that button to just switch to the camera versus the scrolling over on the 6. I have found that I've missed so many quick shots of my little girl by having to scroll over and missing the scroll over and not getting the camera up fast enough. I feel like with this one, I press that button, the camera is ready to go, and I have loved that. I've used that so many times trying to capture cute things of my little girl. She's just an Olivia tornado. She does not sit still for long, and I miss shots if I'm not quick. So it's great to have that snappy instant camera and not have to scroll across and hope that it works. That's been something that I've really, really loved. I'm still getting used to 3D touch. That's something I didn't have on my old phone. That one still feels kind of weird. I don't know exactly how to press things sometimes to get it to do what I want. So that's still something I'm learning. The last thing I want to touch on is battery life. I think the battery life is awesome. I did get the XS Max partially for the battery. It is a little bit bigger in this phone because the phone's a little bit bigger. They have room to put in a bigger battery, and I love the battery life. I have not had one single issue with my phone dying, and it's been put through the ringer. I use this thing constantly taking pictures or taking videos, or on here taking notes for things, checking the calendar, updating the calendar, using GPS for directions. I'm just constantly doing something on my phone. There have been just a couple of days, maybe like 3 or 4 days, that I've gotten to a low battery signal. It'll tell me I'm getting down to 20% low battery, and that's even rare. So it's happened a few times, but that's like at the very end of the day when I'm laying in bed reading or scrolling on my phone. And so I've never gotten to the point where I'm like, oh, I gotta plug my phone in or it's going to die. I've not had that at all. And I know the battery will get worse over time, but that was happening all the time on my 6. I feel like that happened more often than not on my 6. By the end of the day, I tuck my little girl in, I want to scroll on my phone, and I'm getting that notification. And I'm not gonna lie, there were days where if I used my phone a lot in the beginning of the day, I was plugging it in the middle of the day. That is just so annoying to have to do that. And this one, I haven't had problems with it at all. And I'll tell you my example from yesterday. I was doing the finalized touches on the notes for this video because I knew I was gonna film it today. It was 2 a.m. My phone was going from about like 8:30 in the morning to 2 a.m. and I checked the battery life just for the sake of this video. I had 35% battery life left. I think that's pretty darn impressive. I would have had to charge my 6 like 2 times in that amount of time probably if I was up that late at night. I would have probably already charged it in the middle of the day and then have to plug it in at night when I'm sitting there with the phone. My one note with that is I do not have the brightness pumped up. If you like to keep your phone really bright, you're gonna see that battery drain a lot faster. I have it really dimmed down, and in inside light, I can see it perfectly fine. I have to pump it up when I'm outside. There are a lot of days I pump up the brightness at least a couple of times because we're on the playground or we're taking walks. So I think the battery is just awesome on here. I haven't had any problems with it, but I do want to point out that I do have it dimmed down. But I think that covers everything I wanted to cover in this video from a perspective of a mom who likes to be productive, likes to do things on her phone. I'm constantly grabbing for it, but I'm not a techie person, so you're getting that real world iPhone XS newbie point of view from this. So I hope you found it helpful. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.